Imagine planning to divorce your wife, and then overhearing the one truth that changes everything. Sometimes love doesn't end with a fight. Sometimes it ends with quiet distance, unless something wakes it up. There lived a couple who used to be the kind of pair others admired. Their names were Marcus and Liana Gray, married for almost 12 years, once inseparable, once full of laughter and little rituals that made even the dullest days glow. But lately, their home felt like a place two people simply existed in, not lived in. It didn't happen overnight. It was slow, subtle, and silent. One small disconnect here, another crack there, and before either of them realized it, they were standing on opposite ends of the same life, unsure how they even got there. At the center of it all was something Marcus never imagined would break him the way it did, losing his job at the marketing firm he had dedicated 2 decades to. One day he was dependable, respected, the man everyone asked for advice. The next day he was, part of the restructuring, handed a box, and quietly escorted out of the office like he was suddenly a stranger. Marcus told people he was fine. He told himself he was fine. But inside, something in him caved. His confidence, like a thread pulled too hard, began to unravel. At first, Liana tried to comfort him, tried to talk to him. But Marcus withdrew, convincing himself she'd be disappointed in him. So he began avoiding conversations, avoiding her eyes, avoiding anything that made him feel like he had failed. And little by little, as his silence grew, her frustration did too. She still loved him, but she didn't know how to reach the version of him that used to tease her in the kitchen, dance with her on lazy Saturdays, or wrap his arms around her at night like she was the only thing that mattered. He stopped laughing. He stopped talking. He stopped being present. And she started feeling invisible. Soon, their home became a polite battlefield. No shouting, no drama, just quietness that clung to the walls like fog. Conversations became about bills, errands, schedules, the basics necessary to keep a household running. Their dinners were quiet. Their mornings were routines. Their nights were two shadows lying in the same bed, miles apart. Marcus convinced himself she didn't care anymore. Liana convinced herself he didn't love her enough to try. Both of them were hurting, but neither of them said the words stuck in their throats. And that's when Marcus made the decision that would change everything. He filed for divorce. Well, almost. The Friday night everything shifted, the divorce papers sat folded neatly in the glove compartment of Marcus's car. Signed. Dated. Ready to be filed Monday morning. He'd rehearsed what he would say to Liana. Calm. Detached. Mature. We've grown apart. This isn't working anymore. I think it's better if we go our separate ways. It sounded clean, easy, logical. And most importantly, it let Marcus walk away without ever having to openly admit that he felt broken. Filing for divorce felt like taking back control, even if it was by giving up. But fate, stubborn as it is, had other plans. 2 nights before the day Marcus planned to tell her, Liana mentioned she was going out with some old friends. A casual dinner, nothing special. She said it while fixing her hair in the mirror, barely looking at him. Marcus merely nodded. But something inside him twisted, a strange mix of insecurity, curiosity, and a flicker of resentment. He had spent months feeling like a stranger in his own life, and somehow the idea of her being joyful somewhere else, without him, tightened something in his chest. After she left, he sat on the couch for a while staring at the blank TV screen. Then he grabbed his jacket, walked outside, and got into his car. He told himself he wasn't spying. He just wanted context. He just wanted to know. He drove to the restaurant she mentioned. A cozy little place called Rosewood Terrace, with warm yellow lights and open windows that let the evening air drift in. He parked across the street, half hoping to find something that would justify the pain he'd been carrying. But when he saw her sitting with 3 of her college friends, all women, his heart sank and lifted at the same time. There was no mystery man. No affair. Just her, and people she trusted. For the first time in months, guilt pricked him. Maybe he really had misread everything. Maybe he had let fear tell him stories instead of listening to his own wife. But then, something shifted. One of Liana's friends leaned in, said something, and Marcus noticed the exact moment when Liana's smile faltered. Her shoulders tightened. Her eyes glistened. She was crying. His pulse kicked up. And before he could think, he got out of the car and moved closer to an open window on the side of the restaurant. The music was loud, but voices cut through anyway. And he recognized the trembling voice that had once been the softest comfort in his life. It was Liana. Marcus stood frozen, unable to move, unable to breathe. "I don't know what to do anymore," Liana said, voice cracking. "Marcus, he's not the same. He barely talks. He just sits there like he's somewhere else entirely." Her friend asked gently, "Do you think he doesn't love you anymore?" Liana hesitated. That hesitation stabbed Marcus harder than any accusation could have. "I think he's hurting," she finally said. "And I don't know how to help him. He won't let me in. I feel like I'm living with a ghost. And part of me wonders if he's just done with us." Another friend reached for her hand. Liana took a shaky breath. "I know I haven't been perfect either," she whispered. "I pulled away too. I got frustrated. I got impatient. I stopped trying because I didn't want to get hurt anymore." Her voice broke again. "But I still love him. God help me, I still love him. I just don't know if he loves me back." Marcus felt something collapse inside him, something heavy he didn't even realize he was carrying. All this time, he thought she had stopped caring. But she was hurting. Just like him. Wounded in her own way. Lost in her own way. Fighting for something she didn't know how to reach. The realization hit him like a wave. They hadn't been enemies. They had been two people drowning quietly beside each other. He slipped back into his car before she could see him, sat there in the dark with his hands gripping the steering wheel, unable to move. The divorce papers suddenly seemed like a coward's escape, a shortcut through pain instead of a solution. For the first time in a long time, Marcus felt something clear, honest, raw. He didn't want a divorce. He wanted his wife back. He wanted them back. When Liana returned home that night, she found Marcus in the kitchen, standing awkwardly by the counter, making tea like it was an unfamiliar task. She paused at the doorway, surprised. "You're still up?" she asked softly. Marcus nodded. "Yeah. Just couldn't sleep." It was a small exchange, but something shifted in the air, like the room had been holding its breath for months and finally exhaled. They stood there in silence for a moment, not cold, not strained, just uncertain. Then Marcus said something he hadn't planned on saying at all. "Do you remember our first apartment? The tiny one with the broken heater?" Liana blinked, caught off guard. "Of course I do. We used to boil water just to warm the place." Marcus smiled faintly. "You always tucked your cold feet under my legs when we watched TV." A small laugh slipped out of her. Approaching, hesitant, hopeful. He reached for her hand without thinking. She didn't pull away. Her fingers were tense at first, then soft, familiar. They didn't fix everything that night. They didn't unpack the months of silence or the mistakes or the hurt. But that moment, that single, quiet moment, cracked open a window in a house that had felt shut for too long. Over the weeks that followed, something new grew between them, not the same as before, not perfect, but real. They went for walks, awkward at first, then comfortable. They cooked dinner together, burned some meals, laughed about it. They talked again, slowly, honestly, vulnerably. Marcus finally opened up about the shame he'd been drowning in. Liana confessed how invisible she'd felt, how helpless she was watching the person she loved sink deeper into himself. Some nights they argued, not to hurt, but to be understood. Some nights they cried, not from weakness, but from relief. And some nights, they just held each other in the dark, realizing they had almost walked away from something worth saving. One afternoon, while cleaning out the car, Marcus found the envelope in the glove compartment. The divorce papers. Still signed. Still ready to be filed. He stared at his own signature for a long moment. Then he tore the papers in half. Slowly. Deliberately. Without regret. Because he finally understood something he'd been too broken to see earlier. Love isn't the absence of breaking. It's choosing to mend, together, even when the cracks run deep. Especially then. And sometimes, love doesn't sound like dramatic confessions or sweeping gestures. Sometimes it's just two tired people standing in a quiet kitchen, one reaching out a hand, the other choosing not to pull away. Sometimes it's just a quiet voice inside you finally whispering, "I still believe in us."